Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of The Probe. There's a saying from Rumi that says the light is one, but the lamps are many. Tonight, The Probe focuses on religious pluralism in Ghana, a controversial yet sensitive issue at the same time for obvious reasons. We are undoubtedly a religiously tolerant country, but shouldn't it be safeguarded with conversations as this? After all, religion is said to be what you can take away from the people. Some have questioned the relevance of such discussions at this time. But why not, is the question. Elections are drawing closer, and it is not in doubt that the religious card will be played by the various parties. We need to entrench the need for religious peace through proper education. Do we stop preaching love just because there is love? No, we don't. Do well to participate in this show because it's definitely your show. You can do so on all our various social media platforms. But first, let me take you through the statistics of the various religious groupings in Ghana, put together by the research desk with data from the Ghana Statistical Service. So what we see today, we are looking at religious pluralism. The lamps I've been talking about are many, but the light is definitely one, that from Rumi. So this is the big pie when it comes to religion in Ghana. The blue you see there, that big pie, is for Christians, 71.32% from the latest statistics from the Ghana Statistical Service. The green you see here, 19.86%, that's for Islam. We have the no religions, they have 1.07%. Other religion, the no religion is 4.50%. The other religion is the yellow, the small yellow you see here, 1.07%. And the traditionalists have 3.25%. That's what we see. That's the big pie when it comes to religion in Ghana. And this that you see is the religious share by age group. I have 0 to 4, all the way to 100 plus. So I've divided them 5 to 9, 10 to 14, onward like that. So for the blue is still the Christian. So for 0 to 4, this is where we are, just about 69 all the way to about 70%. That's for the 0 to 4, at least. They were born into it. 5 to 9, yeah, we're still looking at Christians. And it's a figure that is going up and down all the way to 100%. I would want you to take a look at this closely. There's a catch here. So from the Islam, we have from here, from 0 to 4, we have from this. So every point is about 10%. So this is just about almost 22, 25%. That's what we have here. And then also, when you look at the traditionalists, which is the red, take a look at it, how it grows. I'll go back, I'll just go back to the chart. So this one, look at the traditionalists for the red. It grows all the way when they tend to grow to 100. Look at how it expands. What is happening there? You see the Christians reducing, the traditionalists increasing. Islam is just about the same. The averagely just about 20-25%, all the way from 0 to 4, all the way to 100 plus. We have the other religions almost just about the same, just about 2-3%, all the way there. Traditionalists keeps increasing. We have no religion, also just about the same in terms of the figure. So you can see it reduces at that point. It's something that I want us to also understand as to what exactly is happening. Why is it dwindling at the end there? And we have the traditionalists increasing. But let's go on to the regional breakdown. This is the religious share by regions. I have the Greater Accra, the Ashanti region, the Eastern region, all 16 regions. This is how it looks like. For the Greater Accra, 84.4% say they are Christians. Islamic, 11.6%. And then we have the traditionalists, the no religion, other religions. The Volta region is quite interesting. 78.7% are Christians. We have 4.7% are Muslims. And the traditionalists, this is what it looks like for the Volta region. Same for the Western region. Look at it. We have Christians, 83%, Central, 84%, Eastern, 86.1%, Ashanti, 78.1%. Now we head up north and Upper East region. We have 49.4% are Christians, 30% are Muslims, and then the traditionalists, over 10%. There in the Upper East region. OT region, 63.7%, and that goes on. So this is the religious share by regions, all 16 regions. This is how it looks like. Now I will go on to the next slide, and then religious share by educational level. Well, Christians still dominating, never attended. We have Islam there, we have nursery, kindergarten, almost all of them still dominating, all the way to tertiary, PhD, and others unspecified. So this is how it looks like in terms of the breakdown when it comes to religious share by education level, in terms of the national data that we have when it comes to religious share by education. We've taken you through the religious share in terms of the regions. We've talked about also by age, amongst others. So this is what we have here. If we are done, then we'll get talking at this point. So this is the breakdown. So we have the statistics backing the discussion that we're going to have today right here on The Probe. My guest tonight is a senior lecturer at the Department of Religion and Human Values, University of Cape Coast, UCC. He's also the chief executive of the National Petroleum Authority. Sheikh Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid is my guest. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thanks.
I hope you're doing well.
God willing, I'm fine.
Ready for the discussion?
Inshallah.
Okay. Well, you can join us live wherever you are on Joy News, on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across the 16 regions of Ghana. On DSTV, you're on channel 421. Go TV is 125. We're live on myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau, and this is The Probe. Please do stay with us.
Council, Very Reverend Professor Asamoah, members of council, clergy, lecturers of the Trinity Theological Seminary, graduates, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you in the greetings of my faith, and I say to you, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Professor Samoa Jedu, for asking me to be guest of honor and to make a few remarks. But next time you invite a sheikh, you should ask him what song, Christian song he knows. Then I would have asked the choir to sing for me. Asidanko nyami nyamia yeni yewo nyama yewo ye eyemwa
Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, my guest in the studio. What's going on there? You know a lot of Christian songs?
Not many.
That's your favorite?
It's actually the only Christian song I know. And I learned it, I deliberately learned it in 2006 when I was in communication school at the University of Ghana. Because I heard one of my mates, A.C. Thompson, sing it. And the words resonated with the strict Islamic monotheism that I believe in. So I thought this is a song that you can perfectly sing even in a mosque. And so I went to AC's room, I remember that time in Legon Hall, and asked her to write the words for me. And so she wrote them for me, and I deliberately memorized the song. And I sing it in my own quiet time. Yeah.
One wonders, and there's nothing wrong with...
Yeah, because like I said, the songs, the words of the song accord with the strict monotheism of Islam. Asidanko nyame, gratitude is to Almighty Allah. And in Islam, Allah says in the Quran that la in shakartum la azidannakum wa la in kafartum in azabi la shadidu. It means if you give gratitude to me, Allah, I shall increase my favor upon you. But if you are ungrateful, then prepare for my punishment, which is severe indeed. So the whole underlying principle of Islamic monotheism is gratitude to God. And so I heard this song and then it resonated with my Islamic belief. So I went ahead to memorize.
I guess you were surprised at the reaction there.
They were surprised that I could sing a Christian song as eloquently as I did. But like I said, it was deliberate. I memorized it in 2006 at the University of Ghana.
Okay, I've read a couple of your articles. This one, Christian-Muslim Relations in Ghana, a model for world dialogue and peace. This one also, Towards Sustainable Peace in Ghana, is one of essays in memory of Francis Kojo Azuma, and you contributed. And yours is Christian-Muslim Relations as a Pathway to Peace in Ghana, an argument for interreligious schooling. I also have this one, Theatres of Love and the Nexus Between Christianity and Islam, the Case of Ghana. Let's settle the issue about your motivation to take Christian-Muslim relations as your scholarly, area.
Yeah. So there are two reasons why in my area of scholarship, I decided to devote my attention to Christian-Muslim relations. The paper in honor of Francis Kojo Azuma is based on a lecture that I delivered in 2015. Specifically, it was on August 5th, 2015, at the Ebenezer Presby Church Hall. It was a lecture that was organized by the Presby University. And I went to deliver a lecture on Muslim-Christian relations based on interreligious schooling. And thereafter, I developed it into a publishable paper, which fortunately has been published as a first script. Now, the reason is that I was born Muslim. I am Muslim, went to Makaranta and everything. So in the course of my study of the Quran growing up, I came across a verse in the Quran. This is Quran 11. The verse is 117. And it states that, and if your Lord had willed, he would have made all humankind one community. Okay? So I began to ponder the verse and say, so even our division into various communities is a deliberate act of God. You see, and then you go further somewhere in the Quran, this must be somewhere in Quran 49, and Allah also says, I have created you into male and female, into tribes and nations, so that you may know one another. So when I began to ponder the two verses, so first of all, Allah states that he deliberately makes us different communities, and he says that we should strive to know one another. So I thought, okay, then it's only natural that in the pursuit of my scholarship in the future, I would like to know about other communities other than the Muslim community in which I was born. And then, as Providence will have it, I attend the University of Cape Coast and I take up religious studies. And then I meet Reverend Professor C.R. Gaba, who taught comparative religion. And in the course comparative religion, you actually study all the religious traditions. Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, Zoroastrianism, Taoism, Shintoism, all of that. And this was a reverend father who, when he came to teaching Islam, said, now we are about to tackle the only truly monotheistic religion on earth. And the Christian students were upset. They were saying, you are reverend, why are you saying that Islam is the only truly monotheistic? He said, well, but that's the truth of the matter. I mean, our belief in the Trinity compromises strict monotheism, according to Professor Gaba. And so I then took motivation and said, if there's a way by which, even as an adherent of my faith, I can step back and learn it in a dispassionate manner, and also therefore learn about other traditions, I think that it will foster unity and harmony in society. And then there was a popular question that he would always ask. He would say, what difference will it make if Zoroastrians were called Muslims?
Who are the Zoroastrians?
Zoroastrianism is their religion.
Okay.
And those who adhere to the religion of Zoroastrianism are Zoroastrians.
Okay.
Now, if you study Zoroastrian beliefs, they are called, especially the Zoroastrian belief about judgment and everything, is exactly like Muslim belief.
Okay.
You see? And then when you are reading the Old Testament, especially Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and etc., sometimes if you know the Quran, you would feel you are reading the Quran even though this is Old Testament. So all of those began to excite my mind and to say, maybe underneath all of these labels, there is some commonality that we can discern. And so I thought that I should take comparative religion as my area of scholarship.
So what has been some of the commonalities that you found in terms of doing this work all the way till now?
Well, so first of all, like you quoted Rumi, and says that Rumi says that the light is one, but the lamps are many. What I found is that what Professor Gaba calls the irreducible element in all of these religious traditions is the concept of God.
Okay.
Are you following me? Except perhaps for some of the Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, whose understanding of God is not exactly like that of Judaism, Islam, Christianity, and etc.
Okay.
But underneath all of these, there's an irreducible element of the Godhead, adherence to a power other than our earthly powers that we have. Rudolf Otto calls it a feeling of the presence of the holy other, that which is wholly other than what we have on earth. And that is an attraction that is there for every religious tradition. Okay. And so it's just that I found that our understandings of that Godhead may be different, but but whatever it is the same Godhead that we are talking about.
I must be honest with you. When we put out the flyer that you were coming on the show, there were concerns about why Sheikh Dr. Mustafa Hamid talking about such an issue. I found out mostly that it's because you're a politician. Really, I'm wondering how you juggle between being a politician and being a Muslim scholar. Like, how do you juggle that? Because that's the key concern for many, reason why they're wondering why the choice of you on the show.
Well, politics is a hobby. I'm not sure that there is any politician who, when they fill forms and there's a court portion that says profession, they write politics. Every politician that you find has their profession. They are either engineers, lawyers, academics, etc., etc. So I'm essentially an academic. That's who I am. Right now, as I speak with you, I'm on leave from the University of Cape Coast and serving the government. Actually, the university gave me to the government on secondment.
Okay.
So if you go to the University of Cape Coast today, my office is still intact with my name tag, my table and chair hasn't been touched. Because anytime I leave this place, I would walk straight back to the place and take my marker and start to teach. So that's who I am. That is my profession. And if you look at my CV, even to this day, even though I've been serving in government from 2017 to today, I continue to publish and go around the world. I continue to deliver lectures. I still go to university at least once every semester to do faculty lectures at the Faculty of Arts and etc., etc. So I'm very much an academic and pursuing politics as a part-time. So I don't think that the part-time, that which is the part-time, should overshadow that which is my mainstay.
Which is being an academic.
Are you following
yes,
me?
But
and therefore I qualify to talk about a subject of which I'm an expert.
But at the heart of the concern is that politics gets dirty sometimes.
Yes.
So for an Islamic sheikh, a scholar, and all, you ought to be spiritual and everything. So the concern is it gets dirty sometimes.
Yes.
And the dirtier it becomes, that's what you're known for, much more than the academic and the sheikh that you are.
Well, that's what people say, but I put it the other way around. I say that politics is not dirty. It's dirty people who make it dirty. No, politics is a noble profession. It's a noble calling. It's a calling to serve. You get the point. And so there may be people who would pervert it for their selfish gain. And there's a lot of that around the world, no doubt about it. But at the same time, there are very noble politicians who have served their country according to, especially for a Muslim. Because for us, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells us that every human being is a shepherd. And on the day of judgment, all of us will be asked about that over which we shepherded. So I shepherded over the Ministry of Information. As far as Islam is concerned, I will be questioned about how I superintended over the Ministry of Information. After all, the resources with which I ran the Ministry of Information were state resources. How did I apply them, etc. Zongo development, I would account to the Almighty Allah. National Petroleum Authority, I would account to the Almighty Allah. So for me, religious people should do politics because it is we who believe that we have an accounting to give of our stewardship on earth. And if you have a conscience or even the knowledge about having to account to a higher power other than the earthly powers, you will sit straight and do your work according to good conscience.
One wonders, as a country, we are very religious people. I've put all the statistics, Christian, Islam, traditionalists, topping. One wonders then, at least most of the politicians that we've interacted with, either Islamic, Christian, I'm yet to see traditionalists in there. Mostly they tell you they are Christians or they are Muslims. How then do we still have pervasive corruption amongst others in the system? That's the key question that many people ask.
Because religion is ambivalent. Because religion is ambivalent. There's a book by Scott Appleby, and I would recommend it to any viewer who would care to read. It's called The Ambivalence of the Sacred. The sacred is ambivalent, just like the surgeon's knife. Okay, when a surgeon takes the knife to cut through you, okay, it's painful, but at the same time, it is to heal. Are you following me? It's the same like the concept of the sacred. People can appropriate the sacred for evil purposes, and at the same time, people can appropriate the sacred for good purposes. So don't worry that there are religious people who are crooked. Okay? They are crooked because they are crooked, not because of the religious personalities that they are.
Okay.
But if you also want to be honest, principled, and a politician of integrity, there is enough examples in the scriptures, whether in the Old Testament or the New Testament or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or the Dharma for you to be able to follow.
Okay. Sheikh, should religion be part of governance in the first place?
Yes. Yes, because there is a scholar, an Islamic scholar called Muhammad Iqbal. He was Pakistani. He says that everything that is secular is also sacred at the roots of its being. In other words, there's nothing that is entirely secular. Every secular phenomenon has at its roots a sacredness about it. So, for example, that is why, even though we say that we are running a secular constitution, and indeed, for much of the world, we run secular constitutions, whether it's in America or Britain or Ghana, everywhere. Yet, after we have elected our leaders and we seek to swear them into office, we get them to swear by either the Quran or the Bible.
Why?
Because of what Iqbal said, that everything that is secular is sacred at the roots of its being. Are you following me? Number two, this same Scott Appleby, who I was quoting, who wrote the book, The Ambivalence of the Sacred, says that people wrap their daily activities around practices that have been enjoined by a religious tradition. And he says, and they do so quite publicly, that dressing, eating habits, gender relations, all of these, according to him, quote, unfold beneath a sacred canopy, unquote. And he says, around much of the world, civil society and politics are suffused with religion.
Okay.
Are you following me? And Mbiti says that for the African, religion is a 24-hour-a-day affair. And then Professor Gaba says, wherever the African is, there is his religion. So people don't go about setting aside their religion when they are going to the farm. They carry their religion to the farm. So people will pour libation. They will recite the Quran before they plant. Are you following me? That is an agricultural activity, but they take their religion there. When you go to the marketplaces, people hung crucifixes in their shops
Yeah.
with the hope that the favor of Jesus Christ will bring them customers, and etc., etc. Muslims will hang Ayatul Kursi, which is arguably, according to Muslims, one of the most powerful verses of the Quran. They will hang Ayatul Kursi on their shops with the hope that it will bring them people and so on. So, but that's commerce.
Okay.
But there's religion there. So you don't expect that if we take religion to commerce, to agriculture, to transportation, when we come to politics, we should bracket religion out of politics. There is no way we can bracket religion out of politics. Just like we take our religion to every facet and department of life, people would take religion into politics. I'm coming. I'm not done. That's number 2 reason. Number 3 reason is that in the world today, there are mainly 3 philosophies of politics that have survived, okay? Or let me call them political ideologies that have survived. Social democracy, liberalism, and conservatism. And these political ideologies or philosophies have their various beliefs, okay? And amongst liberal beliefs, for example, is free market, competition, individual liberty, no religion, for example. Whilst conservatives will say their principles are free market, competition, rule of law, religion, hierarchy, order. So there are political ideologies in which religion is a part. So for example, the Republican Party in America is a conservative party, and conservative values incorporate religion. So that's why, for example, Republicans will be against abortion.
Yeah.
Are you following me? Because religion is against abortion. That's why Republicans on the main are against transgenderism. I mean, they say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Recently, you heard the Prime Minister of UK, Rishi Sunak, because he also heads a conservative party. He also says that it cannot be true that a man can wish to be a woman and etc., etc. That's why when you go to America, all the areas, the states that they call the Bible Belt are all Republican. Are you following me?
Yes, I am.
It's not for nothing, because conservatism, that's why the Conservative Party in Germany is called CDU, Christian Democrat Union. And that's why the NPP, being a conservative party, belongs to the international organization called International Democrat Union, which is the union of conservative parties around the world, and so on. So even in crafting political ideology, there's an ideology called conservatism, of which religion is a part. So really, and to the extent that conservative parties come to power around the world, you cannot divorce religion from politics.
Well, you've raised the issue about conservatism. I was going to come to it later, but really, the concern is, I'm happy you've raised that indeed NPP is a conservative party. And conservatives around the world, we've heard them openly raise concern about things that they do not believe in. But when it comes to LGBTQ, for instance, in Ghana, at least we've seen the position openly when we had Atta Mills in government as president. No LGBTQ. Up until now, it doesn't look like we have a clear, message when it comes to the NPP and what your stance is with LGBTQ.
Unfortunately, that's not true.
Is it?
It's not true. A cursory glance by your producers online would generate stories where the President Akufo-Addo, who is a member of this conservative party and who attends International Democratic Union congresses, has said clearly that, and I quote him, he said, "Not under my watch will gayism be legalized in Ghana. It won't happen in my term." If you think I'm in doubt, I'm talking in specific reference to when, during the coronation of the Archbishop of the Anglican Church on the 27th of February 2021 in Mampong, Asante, the president said that, and it's all over the thing. And then secondly, when you go to the Parliament of Ghana, which is made up of MPP and NDC people. You remember that fateful day when the Speaker of Parliament asked if there are any members of this House who are opposed to
that
this.
Was under an intimidating atmosphere.
I don't think that
no
it
way
was
anyone was going
Do you
to
know
come
that
out to say against it.
One of the members of Parliament who is sponsoring, the group of members of Parliament who are sponsoring this particular bill is a member of the New Patriotic Party.
One.
So, yes, of course. So really and truly, I'm saying to you that the president, who is the leader of the party at this time, has stated that categorically, that it won't happen under his watch, not under a conservative party.
No. There's the concern that it appears that politicians, we're talking about governance and religion, you say that, yes, it ought to go together. Yeah. The concern that politicians tend to take advantage of religion, which is supposed to be the only sacred thing that we have as a people. It appears that when it comes to close to elections and campaigning amongst others, you tend to take advantage of religion to your, interest, because the concern is religion is very sacred and it has the potential of destabilizing a nation. So when you go there, you take everything. Now you want to take religion as well into that dirty space, so-called. That's the concern for many. Leave religion alone.
Well, first of all, I've already made the point that Scott Appleby underscored that civil society and religion are suffused, that you cannot compartmentalize people's religiosity as against their involvement in transportation or commerce or agriculture, etc. That's number one. Number two, all around the world, ethnicity, let me even add ethnicity. Ethnicity, religion, and politics are, in my opinion, the three most passionate subjects. The three things about which people are often very passionate and which therefore have a tendency to inflame passions and set countries ablaze, like Rwanda, even Liberia. All of those were ethnic issues. And when you want to talk about religion, then you can talk about the LRA, the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda, which also says it is fighting to establish a Christian regime in Uganda, and etc., etc. Now, what it is also is that political parties have their bases. Are you following me? In other words, their strongholds. So, for example, in Ghana, for example, we know that the MPP's base or root is Ashanti region, and the NDC has a root or a base in the Volta region. You get the point. That's ethnicity. But there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot say, therefore, that people should not affiliate to the party that they belong. However, what is resentful is if people stoked religious animosity, between people of divergent religious traditions for political gains. That would be reprehensible. But merely saying that I'm a Muslim and therefore I think that this party has done well in promoting perhaps Islamic education and therefore I should support them. I'm not sure that there is anything wrong with that. People will always vote based on various interests and for various reasons. And therefore, there are people who will vote because, for example, do you know that in this country, there was a political party called the Muslim Association Party, MAP, okay? Later, President Nkrumah passed the Non-Discrimination Act and abolished political parties based on ethnicity and religion. But otherwise, there was a political party that was founded by Muslims in this country, and they called it Muslim Association Party. But even in Muslim Association Party, there were Christian supporters and leaders. There was one, Awonorena and Kwabna Kesi. They were members of the Muslim Association Party. So that tells you the beauty of our country. That's the religious pluralism that we are talking about, because it wasn't possible for the leaders of MAP to have run their party devoid of Christian participation. How
then do we avoid politicians taking advantage of religion?
Well, how we avoid politicians taking advantage of religion is simply to say that, first of all, we already have a law, and even in the 1992 Constitution, that says that you cannot found a party first of all, based on ethnicity or religion. Virtually mimicking the Avoidance of Discrimination Act. Number two, our laws enjoin all political parties to have footholds in every area of our country, so that you are not just operating only in Muslim areas or only in Christian. So there are enough safeguards, as far as I'm concerned, per the structure and laws of our country, to avoid us getting into, if you want, a conflagration based on religion. And I think that so far, Ghana has been a haven of religious tolerance in the West Africa region. As far as I'm concerned, apart from Sierra Leone, which also shows very high levels of, if you want, Christian-Muslim tolerance, Ghana, in my opinion, is next. So I have nothing to worry about as far as our country is concerned. I'm sure you see all the leaders of the various political parties since 1992 crisscrossing from mosque to church, and etc., etc. That's the beauty.
I'll come to that shortly, because I'm wondering why a Muslim would be participating in things when it comes to Christianity and vice versa. That's something we'll come to. But since we are still talking about governance, it appears that the UP tradition is in a habit of deliberately including religious balance in its politics, especially at the helm of leadership. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, it's correct. I mean, if we were to trace it all the way to 1979 and coming, yes, so we had Victor Usu, whose running mate, that was a UP party, the Popular Front Party. So the running mate, the candidate was Victor Usu, the running mate was Alhaji Yakubu Tali Tolongna. UNC, United National Convention, was a UP party with William Oforiatta as candidate and Alhaji Idrisu Mahama as his running mate. The NDC is Alhaji Idrisu Mahama. Then you come to 1992. You had Professor Edu Boahin, Roland Isifu Alassane as his running mate. And then you go to President Kufuor and Aliyu Mahama. Then you come to Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia. So the point I'm making to you is because of our conservative values, that mandates us to have a religious calculation to the things that we do. So we are deliberate about including, or creating an amalgam of minority and majority religious persuasions in order to build a beautiful tapestry of conservatism. You see, because at the root of conservative, when we say something is it comes from the word to conserve. Okay, so we live in a country of plural values. The reality that there are Muslims is there. It's not a reality you can run away from. The reality that there are Christians is not a reality you can run away from. And so conservatism requires that you conserve the reality, you conserve the value. So in conserving these values, we make the determination that we must deliberately factor both the minority and majority religious persuasions into our political calculation.
Okay, so now that you've elected a Muslim, at least in the minority, it goes without saying that a Christian then will be his running mate.
Without a doubt. So that means that now Dr. Bawumia is mandated by the spirit of conservatism to select a running mate who is steeped in the Christian tradition or who is a participant in the Christian tradition.
You say participant?
So, yes.
Or really has to be a Christian or participating in Christian?
Well, who is a major participant in the Christian tradition? You see, these days in modern religious studies scholarship, we use the word participant because of the reality of the world of plural values, because we live in a pluralistic world. It is difficult for anybody not to participate in other religious traditions. You see, so in religious studies scholarship these days, we talk about heavy participation and minimal participation. So we all are heavy participants in the traditions that we confess to. Okay, so you confess that Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior. I confess that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his messenger. That's what I confess to. So I'm a heavy participant in the Islamic tradition.
Okay.
But when Professor Asamoah Gyedu invites me to be guest of honor at the graduation ceremony of pastors, okay, and I sing Asedan Ko Nyame, I'm minimally participating
in Christianity.
In the
Hold
Christian
that thought
tradition.
for me, and let me just take you back to the participants that would likely be the running mates of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, because you've established that that person would have to be
would be
or
Christian without a
participant.
doubt.
So a number of names have come up.
Yes.
The your sector minister, energy minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh's name has come up. We've heard that of Jose Usu. We've heard that of the majority leader, the education minister, Dr. Yawosir Duchum. I know you're very well placed. Where are you going? Who is your likely candidate in terms of participants in Christianity that you know so far?
I wish you hadn't asked me this question, because you are going to make get some people to dislike me.
Why?
Because right now there are names that have been thrown into the fray, and all MPs.
So what I've mentioned, there are more?
Well, you see, but my experience is that oftentimes the names that people throw out in the public domain, claiming that it could be this, it could be, sometimes none of them is even in the mind of the candidate. I was close enough with President Akufo-Addo to tell you today, I can confidently say that those days when people were saying, Alhaji Jawula, Ambrose Derry, Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt and without fear that none of these names ever crossed President Akufo-Addo's mind. Today I'm free to say it because he's almost gone. Never. But you see, people have their own interests. So they just throw names around. Today I've even seen Ben Asante, Dr. Ben Asante.
Okay.
And people are writing all sorts of things on social media. Ben Asante, PhD versus PhD, what a leader combination, and blah, 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 blah. Maybe he hasn't even crossed the candidate's mind and will not cross his mind. But quite frankly, if you ask me,
I'm asking.
today, if I know the candidate won't ask my opinion, but if he was to ask my opinion, that all the names that have been thrown into the public place, what name I think would give us political value and political capital, I would say Matthew Opoku-Prempeh.
Why?
I would say that. First of all, he's a political colossus in our tradition. He's been a participant in our political tradition for ages. Okay, so he knows the party, he knows the philosophies and principles of our party. That's number one. Number two is that ever since he's held political office, he's accomplished. I mean, when I was in cabinet with him, okay, and for the 4 years that we were in cabinet, the Ministry of Education, was the ministry that tabled and passed the most reforming laws in the entire 4 years. I think that, well, I don't want to give a number, but he passed a high number of bills and laws, all in a bid to reform the education sector.
In spite of his arrogant posturing that many people have talked about.
People say that. People say that he's arrogant. I guess people have said that about me as well. You see, in our country, there is a fine line between arrogance and confidence. Oftentimes, people who are confident, you remember even the president suffered that tag for a very long time. You see, so people who are very confident, who speak their minds, who are assertive, can easily cross the line from assertiveness into arrogance and thereby be tagged as arrogant.
Okay.
So that for me is not a worry at all. There are many people who are tagged as arrogant in politics. Number two, I think that we should select somebody from the Ashanti region.
Okay.
Because, of course, Ashanti...
But there are three names from the Ashanti region, but you still insist.
But amongst all the Ashanti names that have come, Matthew is the person who has the support of young people.
Okay.
You know, who is able to mobilize the support of young people in the region. Otherwise, all the other people are fine gentlemen and so on and so on. But we want to win an election, and we are looking for a mobilizer.
Well, we'll get to the questions. A number of them, I'm not leaving our audience out of this, but we'll get to it shortly. But let's now tackle the issue about a Muslim participating in Christian activities, going to church. Is it for the political gains? Is it even right for, because we have a saying that so that lukewarm attitude. Why then do you tend to participate in Christian activities as a Muslim? For instance, I saw you singing, you've explained why you were singing that, but really, generally.
So what it is that when you swear an oath to be president or vice president of our country, you swear that you will do right by all manner of persons. It's in that oath, if you go and read it. You also swear that you will not show resentment, disdain, selectivity, discrimination against people based on religion, ethnicity, and etc., etc. The entire constitution of our country, if you read the foundational spirit of the 1992 constitution, is to create a society of inclusiveness and cohesion. And so when former President Mahama goes to the mosque at the chief imam's place and recites Kul Huwallahu Ahad, for example, for those of you who don't know what he was reciting, you know, Kul Huwallahu Ahad is the verse that establishes the Islamic version of monotheism. It's called Tawheed. And that is the distinguishing difference between Islam and Christianity. You say that God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But Kul Huwallahu Ahad says, say he is Allah, the one and only,
there's no
the
Trinity,
eternal, the absolute. It says he begets not, nor was he begotten, and there is none like him. But President Mahama is a Christian who believes in the Trinity. But he goes to the mosque and he recites Kul Huwallahu. I don't think that he was negating the Trinity by that way, even though in practice, Kul Huwallahu negates the Trinity. Are you following me? But I wouldn't go on social media like the way some MPP people did and say that he's Yahya by day and John by night. No, that's not what he was doing. First of all, he's seeking to be president and to unite all the faithful of our country. Two, when as a politician he goes to the mosque, it is important that he behaves in a way that lets the people feel that he's a part of them, that he's not resentful of them, that he's not disdainful of their beliefs. Are you following me? Number three, the NDC's strongholds, one of the strongholds of the NDC in Ghana is the Muslim communities of our country. And so you can't have an NDC candidate go to areas of his strongholds and not behave like that. He has to recite Kul Huwallahu. And indeed, if you listen to the crowd, they were excited. That, wow, he's reciting Kul Huwallahu. They were excited about him wanting to be a part of them. Are you following me? And I support that wholeheartedly. He should do more of that, because that is what would ensure the unity of our country. It is not possible that if one day I became presidential candidate of the NPP, that I will say that I will never attend any Christian invitation, or how am I going to win? Are you following me? Okay. So it is not possible for a Christian not to attend Muslim invitations and Muslim ceremonies and be a participant, even at the minimal level, at the societal level. MFA, tomorrow morning, if you are going to marry, I'm sure I will be one of the people you would send an invitation. And because you are a Christian, I'm sure you would marry in a church. I am going to come to that church. Okay, I would be in there. I will rise, stand, even though in the mosque I'm not used to rising and standing. I would be compelled to rise and stand, and etc., etc. And then there would be an offertory bowl, and then there will be singing and dancing. I don't know how to dance, so I wouldn't dance, but I will walk through the offertory queue and I will drop my offertory in the offertory box. By doing all of that, I'm participating in Christian rituals.
It's not because you're being hypocritical.
But it's not because I'm being hypocritical. No, that's what it ought to be. That's what we mean by pluralism.
Okay.
There is something that in scholarship we call a dialogue of life. The dialogue of life theory. The dialogue of life theory says that as you live your daily life in a pluralistic society, you do not have a choice but to interact and participate in the values that other people live by. That's the reason.
It doesn't negate your faith in any way, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Because, especially, I can't speak for Christianity, but in Islam, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that the litmus test for every act is the intention. He says, and I quote, actions are according to intentions, and every man or woman shall be judged according to what he or she intended.
Okay.
So if I were to apply it, for example, to the John Mahama example, I would say that his intention was not to negate the Trinity.
Okay.
Therefore, he will not be held culpable. So in the same way, when I go to your a wedding program in a church and so on and so forth, I haven't gone to confess that I believe in God the Father and God the Son and God the Holy Spirit. My intention for being there is a purely social event and so on. So the actions are what underlie, as far as Islam is concerned, an activity or an act.
Well, there are a lot of issues I'm really hoping that we could talk about, monuments, religion, and amongst others, a lot of things. But really, as the CEO of NPA, I'm seeing a lot of questions also coming in. Once you're here, they would want to hear the issue about manganese-infected fuel being sold out in the system. We've had a number of shows, people calling in, raising concerns about the effect it's had on their vehicles, amongst others. What really is the issue, and how are we dealing with it?
Okay, so when it comes to standards for everything, Ghana has an authority called the Ghana Standards Authority that sets standards for every consumable, okay, including petroleum products. So, and petroleum products are made up of various chemical components. There's sulfur, there's lead, there's manganese, there's etc., etc. So the parameter for acceptable limit, maximum limit for manganese tolerance in our country for gasoline, in particular, gasoline is petrol, is 18 milligrams per liter. That's the maximum ceiling. Fortunately for us, over the years, all the petroleum products that have been coming have always been had very low manganese levels of like 2 milligrams per liter, 3 milligrams. Maximum has always been 6. But recently, we got a few cargoes whose manganese levels went to about 16. 16 was the maximum. Was it as which a result is acceptable.
Of the gold for oil deal?
No, I've heard Bright Simon say that it was because of... Under the gold for oil deal, Bost brought in 8 cargoes of gasoline. Only one had manganese levels of up to 16. Are you following me? Yes. So as far as the NPA Quality Assurance Directorate is concerned, once there is an upper limit and the level does not breach the upper limit, it is good to go. Okay. However, these days, some turbo car engine manufacturers are beginning to require specifically that fuel that is put in the particular vehicle should not exceed a certain manganese levels. Unfortunately for all of us, we don't read car manuals. Are you following me? So it's an eye-opener that we ought to read car, manuals to determine what type of fuel is compatible with what type of car and so on and so forth. However, we have taken proactive steps to amend, to require Ghana Standards Authority to amend the upper limit and reduce it to 6 milligrams of manganese content per liter in the case of what they call RON 91, that's the normal petrol, and then to 2 milligrams per liter in the case of what they call V-Power.
But as a consumer, the issue is not my fault. I didn't know that. I know that this is what I'm supposed to get, and I didn't get it. Yeah. And so the concern is, will there be any compensation for those who...
Well, many people have come to complain, and then we are dealing with them. So if there are people have any specific complaints and evidence that they go to MPA, the consumer department is dealing with them, and many of them are satisfied.
Okay, just before we head out though, there's a popular video of you. I want you to see this, and then we can wrap up on that.
That look, my son, if you reach a certain stage in life and there is nobody who can look you in the eye and tell you the truth, you are doomed. And that is where our country has gotten to. We need to rescue this country, wallahi. And I feel very terrible as a Ghanaian at this time. But there is hope, inshallah. God is not asleep.
It's sad. It's terribly sad. This country is in serious trouble, ladies and gentlemen. We are in serious trouble. We need to rescue this country, ladies and gentlemen. The presidency has been so depraved, in all sincerity, as a Ghanaian, that I feel terribly sad today as a Ghanaian. We need to rescue this country. Wallah, inshallah. Please don't cry. We shall rescue our country.
Sure. Have you rescued this country?
Yes, we have.
You have?
Yes, we have.
High cost of living.
Country.
Economic crisis.
The economy is challenged, without a doubt. But I'm saying to you, MFA, that we have taken this country beyond where we found it. We are going into an election. I always tell people, when people call me, that's why in the past 1 year, I just do these academic things. Because I tell people, don't worry, no shaking. There is time for debate. We will come and debate the issues in the election year. They'll hear from me. And I will justify all the rescuing that we have done of this country.
One rescue, so we can go.
We have saved over 400,000 young people who, but for our policies, will be languishing on the streets of our country, who are today in universities and pursuing proper careers for their life. The human resource of a country, okay, is what runs a country. The reason countries like Japan, Singapore, and so on, don't have mineral resources but have made progress is the human resource. So if you have a president who has been able to rescue the human resource of our country, who over several years, 100,000 of them every year will go onto the streets and lead meaningless lives. And they are rescued and being put on a path to progress and prosperity for they and their families. That's not rescuing. Okay. That is rescuing, MFA. We would debate it.
Okay. Sheikh, we are grateful. Sheikh Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid has been my guest here on The Probe. Another exciting edition of The Probe comes your way same time here on the Joy News channel. For our radio audience, we have A Walk with Jesus up next. Stay with Ajele Dosu also up next with Celeb Biz. I am MFA Pau. There's more on myjoyonline.com. On behalf of the entire team, have a good evening. Thank you, Sheikh, once again.